You know that feeling when you refresh your inbox even though you already know nothing new has arrived, when the phone stays quiet, when the application still says pending, when the person who promised to call never does, and you sit there with a calm face while something inside you quietly breaks. You are not only waiting for money, a job, a message, a chance, or an answer. You are waiting for proof that Allah has not forgotten the version of you that kept trying when nobody saw the tiredness. You made dua with your forehead on the prayer mat while the house slept. You held yourself back from haram shortcuts. You watched people move ahead with less effort, less restraint, less sincerity. And for a moment, your heart whispered, "Why is my door still closed?" That question can become heavy when you have done what you know how to do. You prayed, you applied, you apologized, you improved, you stayed patient when patience felt like standing barefoot on hot ground. Then nothing moved. But sometimes the silence around your risk is not absence. Sometimes it is cover. Sometimes Allah keeps the door closed, not because what is behind it is too good for you, but because it is not safe for you yet, or not safe for your heart, or not safe for the person you are becoming. What looked late may have been held back with mercy. What looked blocked may have been guarded from your own desperate hands. There are delays that feel like rejection because you can only see the empty space in front of you, not the harm Allah kept behind the curtain. You wanted the answer because you were exhausted. Allah withheld it because He knew what exhaustion would make you accept. You thought risk meant something arriving. Sometimes risk is something never reaching you at all. There is a false belief that quietly poisons the heart, the belief that if something is meant for you, it should arrive easily, quickly, and in the form you imagined. That belief makes every delay feel like punishment and every closed path feel like humiliation. But risk has never been controlled by the speed of people, the favor of managers, the approval of relatives, the mood of clients, the strength of competitors, or the timing of a message. People can be doors, but they are not the owner of the house. Someone may reject your application, overlook your effort, ignore your name, or choose another person, but they did not steal what Allah wrote for you. They only became part of the route by which you were moved away from what was not yours. This does not mean rejection does not hurt. It does not mean you pretend to be made of stone. It means your pain is not proof that the decree is against you. A believer can feel disappointed without accusing Allah of neglect. You can cry after Fajr and still have tawakkul. You can feel embarrassed after a door closes and still know your worth is not buried under that email. The danger is when the heart starts interpreting delay through fear. Maybe I am not loved. Maybe I missed my chance. Maybe everyone else has a path except me. That is when the test deepens, because now the matter is no longer only about provision. It is about what your heart believes when there is no visible evidence. Risk is written, but your attachment is being examined. Your hands are being taught to work without worshipping the result. Your eyes are being trained to notice barakah, not just size. Your tongue is being disciplined to make dua without turning dua into a demand letter. When you begin to understand this, the closed door still hurts, but it no longer defines Allah's care for you. Sometimes Allah protects your risk by protecting you from the version of yourself that would have mishandled it. That is a difficult mercy to accept because we usually think we are ready for what we want. We imagine the opportunity entering our life and solving the ache, not exposing the weakness. But look closely at the seasons when you were desperate. There were moments when one reply would have made you compromise your dignity. One offer would have pulled you into a place where prayer became rushed, boundaries became soft, and your heart became dependent on people who only valued you when you were useful. One relationship would have fed your loneliness while quietly draining your iman. One job would have paid well but taught you to lie to yourself every morning. One fast opening would have made you arrogant before your character had roots. Allah knows the unseen not as an idea, but completely. He knows the pressure inside the room you never entered, the conversations you would have overheard, the habits you would have adopted, the people you would have tried to impress, the prayers you would have delayed, the resentment you would have carried. So he withholds, and from the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. Inside, a different kind of risk is being delivered. Restraint, patience, discernment, the ability to say no without collapsing, the strength to keep your heart clean while life feels unfair. If that truth reaches you, acknowledge it gently by liking this video, not as a reaction to a sentence, but as a small witness that Allah's protection can be quiet and still be real. There is a kind of mercy that does not arrive wrapped like a gift. It arrives disguised as not yet, and only later do you realize that not yet saved you from what your hunger could not see. Think about the night when everyone was asleep and you were awake, not because you wanted to be spiritual, but because worry would not let you rest. You checked your account, then checked it again, as if numbers could change out of pity. You read an old conversation, searching for a clue in someone's tone. You opened the rejected email more than once, not because the words changed, but because your heart kept hoping it had misunderstood. Then you made wudu slowly, with that strange heaviness in your chest, and you prayed 2 rak'ahs without beautiful words. Maybe your dua was not eloquent. Maybe it was just, Allah, I am tired. Please do not leave me to myself. That moment was not small. A person who returns to Allah when life feels delayed is receiving rizq already, though not the kind that can be deposited in an account. The rizq was the pull back to prayer before bitterness became your home. The rizq was the tear that softened you instead of hardening you. The rizq was not being able to sleep until you spoke to the one who never sleeps. People often think provision begins when the problem is solved, but for the believer, provision can begin while the problem is still standing there because the heart is being repositioned to it. Before the job comes, Allah may give you clarity about why you wanted it. Before the spouse comes, He may heal the wound that would have made you cling too tightly. Before the money comes, He may teach you that dignity is not purchased by appearing successful. Before the answer comes, He may remove the panic that made every unanswered question feel like danger. This is why some delays end with the same outward situation, but a different person inside it. The inbox is still empty, but your chest is less enslaved to it. The offer has not arrived, but your prayer has changed from give me this exact thing to give me what is pure and keep me away from what will ruin me. That change is not weakness, it is basira beginning to open. There is also a painful comparison that many people carry quietly, watching others receive what you begged Allah for. And someone posts the keys to a new apartment while you are calculating rent with a tight throat. Someone announces an engagement after years of careless living while you are trying to stay halal and alone. Someone gets promoted after doing what you refuse to do because your conscience would not allow it. You smile, congratulate them, and then later, alone, you feel the sting you did not want to admit. This is where the heart can either mature or become sick. One reaction is to turn every blessing around you into an accusation against Allah. You start reading other people's ease as your personal rejection. You start asking why they got it, as if their portion came from your plate. That path makes the soul narrow. Another reaction is harder but cleaner. You allow yourself to feel the ache, then you return it to Allah before it becomes envy. You say, bless them in what you gave them, and protect my heart from becoming ugly while I wait. That dua is not easy. It may come through clenched teeth at first, but it protects something precious in you. It keeps your delay from becoming a doorway into resentment. The truth is, you do not know the full weight of another person's rizq. You see the wedding photo, not the private test inside the marriage. You see the salary, not the anxiety that comes with it. You see the business launch, not the debt behind the smile. You see the applause, not the loneliness after the room empties. This is not to belittle anyone's blessing. It is to remind your heart that comparison is a poor witness. Allah distributes with knowledge you do not possess. Your task is not to audit his giving. Your task is to guard your heart while your own portion travels toward you through a route you cannot yet map. But there is an important nuance. Trusting Allah with rizq does not mean becoming passive, careless, or spiritually lazy. Some people misunderstand tawakkul as waiting without effort, then call their avoidance patience. That is not maturity. The believer ties the camel and trusts Allah with what the rope cannot control. You still apply. You still learn. You still ask people respectfully. You still improve your work. You still leave the house, answer the email, repair the mistake, seek advice, apologize where needed, and take the halal step available today. Sabr is not sitting in the wreckage of your life and refusing to move. Sabr is moving without panic, obeying without immediate proof, and not breaking your principles to force a result. If you have been rejected from 10 places, you review your approach, polish your skills, and try again. But you do not start believing that humiliation is your identity. If a person keeps delaying commitment while enjoying your emotional availability, you do not call that divine timing forever. You step back and protect your heart. If a door is closed because you never knocked, do not blame destiny for your fear. Islam does not teach helplessness. It teaches a kind of action that is clean from arrogance and despair. You do your part with seriousness, but you do not make your effort into an idol. You understand that means matter, but the means do not create the decree. This balance is where many hearts are trained. Too much control, and you become anxious, harsh, and suspicious. Too little effort, and you disguise fear as spirituality. Allah's protection does not always feel like being carried away from responsibility. Sometimes it feels like being made strong enough to face it without losing your soul. You begin to notice that the same trial that once made you frantic now makes you disciplined. You no longer send messages just to be reassured. You no longer accept every offer because scarcity is shouting. You move, but you move with a heart that knows the provider is not trapped inside one door. There are times when a delay protects you from people, and there are times when it protects people from you. That may sound uncomfortable, but it is part of purification. Maybe you wanted a position before you had learned how to treat those beneath you with mercy. Maybe you wanted marriage before you had learned how to communicate without punishing silence. Maybe you wanted influence before you had learned not to use attention as medicine for insecurity. Maybe you wanted financial ease before you had learned to spend without showing off or hoarding in fear. Allah may hold back a form of rizq until your character can carry it without turning it into harm. This is not rejection. It is training. A knife in the hand of someone steady can prepare food. In the hand of someone reckless, it wounds. The thing itself may be halal, even beautiful, but timing changes its effect. There was a younger version of you that might have taken the blessing and used it to run farther from Allah. There was a wounded version of you that might have confused relief with rescue and attached your whole heart to a created thing. There was an angry version of you that might have used success to prove people wrong instead of becoming grateful. So the delay humbled you. It made you sit with motives you did not want to examine. It revealed how quickly you became bitter when unseen, how easily you compared when tired, how often your dua was tied to one outcome. That exposure was not meant to shame you. It was meant to clean the place where the blessing would land. When the heart is crowded with fear, even rizq can feel like pressure. When the heart is trained through surrender, even a small opening can carry barakah. You begin to understand why the Prophet's way was not obsession with results, but obedience, trust, and steadiness. Not every closed door is a wall. Some are gates with guards, and the guard is mercy. A strange sign of hidden protection is when the thing you once begged for returns later, and you no longer want it in the same way. The person reaches out, but your chest does not jump like it used to. The offer appears, but the environment now feels wrong to you. The opportunity reopens, but your values have become clearer, and you can see the cost behind the shine. That is not failure. That is basira. Allah did not only delay the object, He changed the eyes looking at it. You may remember a time when one message could control your entire mood. If they replied warmly, you felt alive. If they were distant, your whole day dimmed. Then months passed. You suffered, prayed, withdrew, healed in pieces, and one day, the same name appeared on your screen. Nothing dramatic happened. No thunder, no revenge, no speech prepared in your mind. You looked at it and felt calm enough to choose what was good for you. That calm was Rizq. That freedom was Rizq. That small moment where an old trigger failed to own you was provision from Allah. Later in this journey, share one honest answer in the comments. What is one door that stayed closed long enough for you to realize it was protecting your heart? Not every story needs public detail, but naming the lesson can help someone else recognize their own mercy. The point is not to shame the past or call every person harmful. Sometimes people are simply not written for our path. Sometimes an opportunity is good, just not ours. Sometimes we are not being saved from evil, but redirected towards something more fitting. This distinction matters because faith should make you clearer, not paranoid. Allah's guidance does not require you to imagine enemies everywhere. It teaches you to walk without begging what has no permission to stay, and without cursing what was never assigned to you. When you begin to live with that understanding, your behavior changes in quiet ways. You stop negotiating with what repeatedly disturbs your prayer. You stop forcing conversations where your dignity keeps shrinking. You stop checking for signs from people who have already shown you their limits. You still feel sadness, but sadness no longer drives the car. You wake up, pray, do the work in front of you, and leave space for Allah to unfold what you cannot arrange. This is not glamorous. No one may applaud the morning you choose not to send the emotional message. No one may notice the afternoon you decline money that would have required dishonesty. No one may see the night you make dua for someone who received what you wanted because you refuse to let envy stain your chest. But those moments build a person. They create an inner life that cannot be easily bought, seduced, or broken. Rizq is not only expansion. Sometimes it is the discipline to remain halal when expansion is offered through a crooked path. Rizq is not only being loved. Sometimes it is being removed from a room where love would have been used to control you. Rizq is not only being chosen by people. Sometimes it is being left out of a circle that would have normalized gossip, arrogance, or spiritual numbness. There is barakah in small groceries that last longer than expected, in a friend who reminds you to pray without making you feel small, in a calm decision after weeks of confusion, in a bus arriving just when your body feels too tired to stand, in a mother's dua, in a stranger's kindness, in a mistake that embarrassed you before it destroyed you. These are not lesser forms of provision. They are the fabric of a protected life. The heart, trained by hardship, begins to recognize them. It stops measuring Allah's care only by big arrivals and starts noticing the mercy woven into ordinary survival. Eventually, the deepest realization is not that every delay will be explained to you in this life. Some will not be, some doors will close, and you may never know what was behind them. Some losses will remain painful even after you accept them. Some du'as will be answered in ways so subtle that only years later you will trace the line and whisper, Allah knew. Faith is not pretending that waiting never hurt. It is refusing to let pain rewrite what you know about the one who provides. Your Rizq was never wandering loose in the hands of people. It was never sitting on someone's desk waiting for their mood to become generous. It was never lost because one person disliked you, one company rejected you, one family misunderstood you, one chance passed, or one season emptied you out. What is written for you will not miss you, and what misses you was never your sustenance in the way your soul needed it. So work, but do not worship the door. Love, but do not hand your whole heart to what Allah has not made halal or stable. Wait, but do not let waiting turn you cruel. Grieve, but do not build a home inside grief. When the path is unclear, return to the prayer mat, not as an escape from life, but as the place where life is put back in order. Ask for what is good, ask to be protected from what only looks good, and ask for a heart that can recognize mercy before it arrives, dressed as relief. One day, you may understand that the silence was not empty. It was Allah keeping your portions untouched, your heart under watch, and your future away from hands that had no right to shape it. Your rizq was not late. You were being protected until you could receive it without losing yourself.